Greetings, hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, an introduction to the Harvest of the Month program for early care and education. Today's webinar is being funded in part by a Montana Department of Agriculture Specialty Crop Block Grant, and we're very grateful for their partnership and support. My name is Demetrius Fassis. I'm the Montana Local Foods Program Specialist at the National Center for Appropriate Technology, more commonly known as NCAT. NCAT's a nationwide nonprofit organization with 6 regional headquarters across the country, and we work on issues pertaining to sustainable agriculture and renewable energy. Developed by NCAT, the project I work on is called the Farm to Cafeteria Network. It's a group of Montana food producers, processors, food service professionals, and community members who all collaborate to share best practices and resources about farm to cafeteria programs across the state. The Farm to Cafeteria Network's mission is to support vibrant local communities by increasing the amount of healthy, locally grown food served in Montana's public and private institutions. During this presentation, we will go over what Harvest of the Month is and how it works in early care settings, how to get registered, and other resources that can help you along the way. As you're listening to today's webinar, you can type in any questions that you might have in the chat box that you see on your screen, and I will answer as many as we have time for at the end of the presentation. We might not be able to get to all of the questions during the webinar, but we will get back to you in email in the days to come with any unanswered questions. And right now, all participants are muted. If you're using a phone or if you have a microphone on your computer, you'll be muted until the end of the webinar, and I'll allow for some discussion and unmute folks at the end. So let's dive in. The Montana Harvest of the Month program showcases Montana-grown foods in Montana communities with the 2 main goals of exposing children and adults to new, healthy foods and to support Montana's farmers and ranchers. By showcasing a different food each month, it provides an easy-to-use and attractive framework to start or grow farm-to-school programs and provides ideas, resources, and materials. The program is a great way to provide nutrition education, promote healthy meals, and grow a team for supporting wellness initiatives within your community. This program has been a collaborative statewide program, and it's been made possible by so many awesome partners and funders over the past 3 years. So I mentioned farm to school. Originally, the program was developed as a way to start or grow a farm to school program. Farm to school, or farm to early care and education, enriches the connection communities have with fresh, healthy food and with local food producers by changing food purchasing and education practices at schools and preschools through the 3 core elements that are shown here. I'm going to take some time to step through those. Procurement is the purchasing and promotion and service of local foods in the cafeteria or as a snack or as a taste test. Education is when students participate in educational activities that relate to agriculture, to food, to health or nutrition. And lastly, school gardens, which is the hands-on engagement and experiential education that's so crucial to development through gardening. Also, the definition of local in farm-to-school programs is defined by the school or your community, your institution, and it can be defined as a radius, a number of miles away from your site. It could be within state lines, or it could be regional. You get to choose what makes sense for your area. For the purpose of Montana Harvest of the Month, we choose local as within the state of Montana. So why would we do this? Before I get too far down the road, I want to talk about why you would take the extra time to do this program. This slide shows some of the benefits that Montana Harvest of the Month provides. The program grows collaborations and connections within community organizations and individuals. Further, it increases opportunities for local producers and businesses, increasing economic strength and vitality in communities. And perhaps most importantly, it promotes children's health and encourages adventurous eaters by improving children's attitudes and knowledge of the Harvest of the Month foods. The data from our pilots have indicated that children do improve their attitude towards Harvest of the Month foods, while non-Harvest of the Month foods on our survey didn't show a significant increase. It's working. While Aubrey Roth and Montana Team Nutrition have been hard at work with the Harvest of the Month program in K-12 schools, over the past year at NCAT, past couple years at NCAT, we've been piloting Harvest of the Month in a handful of healthcare institutions and preschools, which are also called early care and education or ECE sites, And we've had some great results. The pilot sites increased their local food purchasing. They built strong teams to support their programs, and they provided meaningful education to people that helps them make healthier choices. They also served foods that were new in the cafeteria, like winter squash and beets and lentils, and getting to try new recipes for their old favorites like beef and apples. Currently, we're still expanding to more food service environments with a pilot that includes grocery stores, restaurants, and food pantries. We currently have over 130 schools and after-school programs registered for this program. There are 18 early care and education sites, 7 healthcare sites, and a few of the grocery store, restaurant, and food pantries that are participating in a pilot. Sites can register at no charge at any time of the year, and this map is from the Farm to Cafeteria database. This shows all of the schools that are registered for Harvest of the Month sites. That database and map also provides contact information for individuals that have allowed, so that we hope that you can reach out to other Harvest of the Month sites to discuss your ideas, your challenges, to collaboratively purchase from producers or just give each other kudos. And you can find this on the Farm to Cafeteria webpage or on the Harvest of the Month page, which I will show both later. So let's look at how it works. Each month features a different Montana grown or raised food, and this calendar makes it easier to find local foods and to secure future orders, especially those winter storage crops. And while we prefer that you follow this calendar so that all programs are featuring the same items each month, you're welcome to change the order of the calendar to suit your needs. None of the materials are marked with the month. Over time, we'll add new items and change the calendar so you can continue featuring new foods. For those of you that participated in the pilot last year, you can see we're adding 2 new items, dairy and chickpeas, and for the first time we'll have a full 12-month calendar. So we're here to help you. We want to provide each of the following on this slide to registered sites at no charge. You get mailed or handed a packet for each site, which is a school, co-located with a school, an ECE program site. Some of the centers have multiple sites and they will receive multiple packets. We give electronic versions of all these materials. We have electronic guides and print guides and other helpful resources that are available online. We conduct trainings like this, both in person and webinar. And of course, we're always available to answer questions and provide technical assistance. And so while we provide this framework and this plethora of materials to support your program, we don't provide the food that you need for meals, for snacks, for tastings, or for your activities. Sites have to locate the vendors that work for them. And I'll show you some resources on how to do this later. We also don't specify who you need to order from. We're happy to connect Harvest of the Month sites with vendors and producers and provide as much assistance or as little assistance as you need to get your program off the ground. Additionally, we don't provide any personnel to do educational activities. So what are the requirements? All of the ECE sites participating in Harvest of the Month have 4 main responsibilities as shown here. And I'll go through each in more detail and show you examples from some of the pilot sites and the school programs. Each site has a team lead that will receive all the communications and be responsible for completing the evaluation. Having a team in place allows you to spread out the work so it's not overwhelming for one person. And it also allows you to make connections throughout your program to maximize the impact of Harvest of the Month. Sometimes that team could be a part of an existing wellness committee or a health-focused group in your community or in your institution. At a minimum, the Harvest of the Month team includes an administrator or a director, as well as some kitchen staff, a kitchen staff member, and an educator or provider. In this example, the food service director is the team lead, but it can be anyone from the team. And we highly encourage bringing in others from the community to serve on the team and help implement the program. And that could be producers, it could be parents, community organizations, nonprofits, extension agents, it could be your sponsor organizations, master gardeners from the area. Anyone that's listed as a team member will receive monthly communications about Harvest of the Month, and that's 1 email a month. If you need to add any new members to your team, please email me their name, their title, and the organization they're affiliated with, and an email address. I can make sure that we're getting Harvest of the Month communication out to everyone that's supporting your program. And I also realize for group or home program sites that this might be a skeleton crew of a team, and that is a-okay. Sometimes there's one person that's filling the hat of the director, the kitchen staff, and the provider. In that situation, I strongly encourage you reach out to your sponsor organizations. If there's SNAP educators in your area, reach out to them. Find other people that can support you in this work. Each site should serve the Harvest of the Month item in a meal or a snack at least once a month during the designated month. And this Harvest of the Month item could be an ingredient in a dish like the beef in this chili. It could be offered on a salad bar or as a side option like the greens or the carrots in the salad. Or it could be served raw like the apples, or served as a snack. So we do provide cooking tips and food service recipes in the handouts, which you'll see later, but you're not required to use only those recipes. If you find a recipe that you and the kiddos love, share a photo, share the recipe with us so that we can get a good collection of recipes and pictures. We're working on a forum online that will allow you to easily submit new recipes and share ideas with each other as participating sites. Sites can purchase local foods and can use their school gardens to grow some of the Harvest of the Month items, like Sweet Pea Outdoor School at one of our pilot sites. I wanted to give you a few quick recommendations on featuring Harvest of the Month foods in meals and snacks. Be sure to showcase the foods on the menu and at the point of service. We provide menu templates, illustrations, logos, and signs for point of service that can help you garner that attention. Sampling a new item or doing a taste test before serving it helps to reduce waste and increase interest. One tip that came from one of the K-12 schools, Gardner School, is serving that item progressively through the month. For example, with beets, which can be a touchy subject for some, they first served beet brownies, which anybody can get behind a brownie. And next they served a salad with shredded beets on top. And then they roasted beets and served them on their own. By serving it progressively, it gradually introduced those students to this new food. Each month, participating sites must conduct at least one educational activity. This could be as simple as reading the fun facts on the materials to the kids, which are provided, and discussing the foods. Or it could be as involved as having students help grow the foods. When kids have a hand in growing, harvesting, and preparing a food, they're much more likely to enjoy it. That's exemplified in our pilot site at Clark Fork School, which reported that kids loved eating raw squash. It could also be painting with beets and helping make and then taste the beet salad. As you all know, it works best when a taste test accompanies a lesson so that students learn about the food and taste it when they're most interested. Cooking projects are awesome, and recipes are included in the teacher handouts. As the representative of one of our pilot sites, Origins Education, stated, our preschool is so happy to be a part of this program. The kids love the cooking experiences. All of the hands-on activities that we can do with our littlest eaters only help support their health and healthy decisions about the foods they eat in the future. Research shows that it can take children 20 times of trying a food before they might like it. Taste tests can also decrease waste in the cafeteria and can be great ways to develop new recipes. The Harvest of the Month taste test should be conducted at least once each month. It can be conducted as a part of an activity, or it can be served during a mealtime. It can even be a snack. There's a taste test guide in the portal that's helpful for setting up your taste tests. Taste tests should use a tried it, liked it, loved it system, which promotes polite behaviors and incentivizes trying new foods. And there are many ways to conduct these taste tests. You can use voting cups as shown here. You can have a taste off between two recipes and let the kids vote on which one will be featured for the upcoming meal or a snack. Here's another example of how you can make a chart with stickers or tally marks to collect votes. Note the heart and the faces that are associated with this. Um, Sometimes it can be as simple as thumbs up, thumbs to the side, or thumbs down for students that are not yet reading. You'd be surprised at the power of a simple incentive like a sticker to get kids to try new food. Students are even more excited about trying new foods when they or their peers are involved with preparing and serving taste tests. Montessori Island School, one of our pilot sites, reported that kale was a huge success. Children were definitely familiar with kale by the end of the month. Sites should use the materials and display the posters in a visible location, as well as use other signage to highlight the foods and activities. This is a great way to connect what's happening in the cafeteria or meals to the educational activities in the classroom. Shown here are a few tips for promoting Harvest of the Month. Try to use multiple strategies for promoting the program to children and families that you serve, as well as other staff. If the site staff aren't aware of it, they won't be promoting it and your work will likely go unnoticed. Also, the news media loves these stories, so reach out to a local news station or newspaper to cover an event or a monthly Harvest of the Month meal. Here you can see how schools have promoted the foods in their lunch lines. We have a number of different materials that can be adapted to the many ways schools serve meals and snacks. And as was just shown, we created menu templates in Microsoft Word that include the fun facts and a space for your site's information. It's a great place to promote the local producers you're working with as well. We also created this newsletter and social media content that you can see, and that is editable. You can copy and paste, customize it, use it in announcements, newsletters, social media pages, websites, bulletin boards, etc. And I'll show you how to access these momentarily. Bulletin boards are other great ways to connect with parents and community members that come into your school. This is an interactive bulletin board. Students can also have a hand in making creative signage or doing coloring that helps promote the program to their peers or others, like this really cool chalkboard sign that was made by a student in Hinsdale. And be sure to recognize your farmers and vendors. Local is in. This draws attention. It gets people excited. And promote the program to families. Invite them to join in with special meals and events. The fourth requirement of the program is to participate in evaluation. All of the participating sites have 3 required evaluation components. First, the beginning of the year survey should be completed by the team lead before the program's implemented, preferably within 30 days of registering. This provides us with a baseline of the program and is only completed one time, so if you participate again next year, you will not need to complete this again. This entire program is grant funded. The way that we get money is through that we're able to provide free materials is by collecting evaluation data that we can report to funders so we can continue to grow and develop the program. Each month, each site should submit one monthly report. Even if you didn't conduct a taste test or an educational activity, it's important to document what happens each month. And for returning pilot sites, this is a much simplified form and should take less than 5 minutes each month. You can give a big thank you to those pilot sites that came before you. They had some pretty intensive reporting to do. The end of the year survey should be completed by the team lead for each participating site by July 30th each year. And this is also how sites re-register for the next year. And the team leads will receive status updates for the reports and requirements for staying enrolled in the program. So let's take a look at the materials that you get when you register. Each registered site receives a printed packet with the following for each month. You get these beautiful posters. There are 3 handouts: kitchen, classroom, and home. And each one of those has fun facts. It has cooking information. There are recipes, shopping ideas, storage ideas, and more. And then there's also a static cling if you have a hot meal service line that can be written on with dry erase markers. or drawn on. The packet that's mailed out includes one of each of the posters. Posters can also be purchased at the MSU Extension store if you want more posters, or if you're partnering with community businesses or organizations that also want to feature Harvest of the Month items. And then there are electronic files, which I'll show you in a bit, for both the large posters that we mail and smaller sizes, 8.5 or 11 by 17, that you can print out independently. Uh, in addition to the information that's on all the handouts, the Cafeteria Bites handout includes food service recipes that are standardized and include the CACFP meal component fulfillments. The Classroom Bites handout includes activities for preschool students and home-sized recipes that make enough for samples. It also has a list of relevant children's books. And then the Harvest at Home handout is a 2-pager that's perfect for sending home to parents or including on the website or on a bulletin board. And it has some of the same recipes as the teacher handouts, but in a visual recipe format so that children are able to see the ingredients that are going into the food that's being prepared in the home place. It's another way that we can connect families to the food and activities that are going on in the school. There are electronic versions of all of those printed materials that I just discussed on the Harvest of the Month portal. And that portal is a secret webpage for Harvest of the Month sites that are registered. And there are also a slew of more resources listed on this site. And we just added table tents and recipe cards as well. So let's take a look at the portal so you know what's available and where to find it. From the Harvest of the Month portal website, you'll click on the Early Care and Education link. In announcements, you'll see anything that is relevant or upcoming. That information will also be relayed in monthly emails as well. So I'm just going to scroll through here. Initially, you will see the monthly materials. These are all links that will take you to more information for each of the months, and we'll return to that momentarily. Under Getting Started, there are Harvest of the Month 101s. These are suited for particular environments and are good ways to explain or open someone up to the program as an introduction. So the classroom are great to hand out to teachers if you're trying to get them on board with Harvest of the Month. Cafeteria and kitchen are suited for centers or smaller sites, depending on what your food service setup is. And then producer, if you're trying to work with producers in your area that aren't familiar already with Harvest of the Month, this is a great way to clue them in. I want to take a second to look at the Getting Started and monthly checklist. This is intended to be a quick reference for new sites and a guide to getting started. So you've signed up for Harvest of the Month. Now you can review this one page of getting started to figure out what you should do next to prepare your site for implementation. There are participation letters that you can send out to the press or to families or to your staff. There's newsletter content for really getting the word out and promoting that program. It's also a great way to grow your Harvest of the Month team and grow the support. Then you can move on to the monthly checklist. These are things that should be done each month. And this is a great reference guide, a quick reference to make sure that you're staying on track with the things that need to get done. As a team lead, I would highly recommend printing this off and keeping it handy to make sure that you're planning ahead for the meal, that your food service staff is planning ahead for the meals that are going to be served, and planning ahead for the activities, and making sure that you're doing a little bit to promote that program each month. So back to the portal, there is the calendar, which you saw on the slide. There's also a taste test guide, and this pulls from some of the National Farm to School Network resources. They have They have an initiative around farm to early care and education and put out some wonderful resources that you can find here as well. Here under Promote Your Program is the participation letter that I mentioned. This is a Word document that you can customize to suit your needs, but it has some great language in there that announces your participation in the program. There are menu templates in each of the monthly materials, but one's included here for reference. And then you can always use this link to share your story. Feel free to send emails to myself or Aubrey in sharing your story, but there's a quick link and a great place to upload pictures, include photo release forms where appropriate. If there's kids' faces in there, we like to be able to use those pictures. So please do include photo release forms. If your site has its own photo release forms, there is a way that we can get permission to use your photo release forms. Just let us know when you send pictures in if you'd like to include your own, or if you have copies of the USDA photo releases. And then there are Harvest the Month logos here for your use. Under the guides and other resources, and I'll talk a little bit more about some of these other resources towards the end of the presentation, but there's a purchasing local food guide and a farm to cafeteria manual. Both of these exist to help with local procurement, with forming relationships with producers, or if you're a larger center and want to place orders with distributors, there's quite an array of distributors that carry Montana grown foods and make it easy to order from one source, as opposed to developing those relationships with individual producers. There's an activity template, the taste test guide that I had mentioned. There's a link to Grow It, Try It, Like It, which is National Farm to School Network curriculum. And then we'll be updating more guides here soon. I do want to take a second to talk about this Find Local Producers and Food Businesses link. That'll take you to the Farm to Cafeteria website. On here, you'll see on the right-hand toolbar, there's a producer database and an institution database. That institution database is what we saw a screenshot of earlier that shows all of the Harvest of the Month sites, as well as additional sites that are participating in farm to cafeteria in some way, and that includes universities, it includes food pantries, ECE sites, healthcare facilities. The producer database is also accessible here, and this shows all the producers around the state that have expressed an interest in selling wholesale to Montana institutions. Even if you're a home care site, I highly suggest linking up with a producer individually, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. And there's also a link to the Farm to Cafeteria manual here as well. So trainings is where any webinars such as this that are recorded will be logged. And this is where you'll find this recording after probably the middle of next week. Under the evaluation section, I know there are some registered sites that have not yet completed the beginning of the year survey. There is a paper version of that survey available that I can send to anybody that requests it, but please do take the time, fill out the survey with your team, and submit it online here. And then as we're just wrapping up the first month, this monthly reporting survey will become live at the end of next week for sites that implemented this month. All right, as I mentioned, we're going to go back to the monthly materials and explore just one of them, summer squash, as we're in August currently. So when you click on that, you get access to all of the materials that are branded for the summer squash month. There's the large poster, there's a place to purchase those large posters, and then there's also the smaller poster, the 11 by 17, which you may be able to print. If you're a home site that does not have printing capabilities, reach out to your sponsor organization. They're aware of this program and are happy to help. There are links to those 3 printed materials that you receive. You only get 1 copy each month of the Harvest at Home. So if you want to print out more of those to give to parents as a physical copy, come right here, click on Harvest at Home, download it, and give it a print. Or you can make copies of the hard copy that we sent in the mail. Newsletter content and social media posts is where you can find that information that was sampled for you on the slide earlier. There are sources for all of the information and facts that are presented on these materials. There's a menu template, as was described earlier, serving line signs, table tents, and then logos and illustrations, in addition to food facts. Down here, this is exciting, recipes. This is the first time that we've had these available. And while we're not printing them and mailing them to sites, they are available for you to print, or if you want to use the single recipe cards in digital communication, they're available here as well. All right, that is all that I want to show you from the web portal. I remind you, this is for registered sites only. Please bookmark the page and share it with your team. There are resources for everyone here. If you've got somebody that handles communications with families, make sure that they know where to find the social media and newsletter information. Make sure they know where to find the logos so that they can add those to your existing communications. The only thing we ask is just don't share the link with the public. Don't post it on a website or on a social media page. Again, we're only able to continue to grow and fund this program by collecting evaluation information and knowing who's registered and how are these materials being used and collecting that feedback. So please keep the portal to yourself and encourage other sites to register if they want access. Speaking of how to register, if you're excited to get going and you're not already registered, let's take a look at how to do that. New sites can register using the online registration form, which can be found at this website. Once you click on the register link, it will take you to a page similar to the portal where you can click on early care and education and fill out the simple registration form. After that, you'll be contacted via email and materials will be mailed out to you. I've been mentioning sponsors for home and group care ECE sites. Sponsor organizations have been encouraged to participate in your Harvest of the Month team as well. Nobody should have to implement Harvest of the Month in isolation, and your sponsor's there to help you with showcasing and promoting Harvest of the Month in a number of ways, including providing information and referrals relating to local food purchasing, helping with promotion at the local and state level through media releases and social media posts, and planning events and tastings that promote Harvest of the Month to children and their families. Farm to School exists in part to connect kids to real food, and there is no better way to do this than through the people who help bring life to this food, the producers. Harvest of the Month provides many opportunities for schools to engage with producers, and as a potential as somebody that might be making these purchases, it's important for you to know how to engage with them. Your school kitchen is also, it's a great place for producers to sell their seconds. These are produce items that aren't cosmetically pretty enough to be put directly on display in a grocery store or at a farmer's market. And there's nothing wrong with the quality of these foods. They're often sold at great discounts to wholesale buyers that are just going to process them or cook them into meals anyway. So make sure to ask about the availability of seconds. And working individually with a different producer for each Harvest of the Month item can be difficult. And I mentioned there are some wonderful independent distributors and co-ops around the state that carry Montana grown foods and make it easy to find a one-stop shop for all your local food orders. This is also a great opportunity to spring into forward contracting with producers. Because we give you that Harvest of the Month calendar a year in advance, it's possible to plan ahead for your needs for the coming year. And by coordinating with producers ahead of time, it guarantees a market for them and it ensures that you have a source for the foods that you're hoping for throughout the season. Also, make sure that you coordinate, if you're an educator, coordinate with your food service so that when they're ordering foods for the cafeteria, that you can also get a few items to use in lessons. And I'll talk a little bit about taking farm field trips and reaching out to families and bringing farmers into the classroom next. With Harvest of the Month, and especially in the ECE environment, food items offer a great hands-on learning opportunity. And whether it's grown in a garden that's on site or it's purchased from a local source, food products can be used in a wide range of learning activities. Uh, Sometimes it might be important to indicate in an order that you want a whole food to use as a demonstration piece. For example, there's a local processor that when I was a food corps service member, I ordered shredded beets from Root Cellar Foods in Belgrade. And I also, I wanted to be able to have a whole beetroot so that the students could see what this food looks like when it comes out of the ground. And all I had to do was ask. A lot of times when we're used to ordering from a broadline distributor, there's not that much flexibility, and there's when working with local vendors, there's much more room to specify exactly what you want or how much of something you want or how you want it processed even. As this interest in the local food system has grown, not only have the number of producers that are growing these foods expanding, but the number of resources for processing them, for distributing them, and so on are also growing as well. And so that farm to cafeteria manual and the database maps that I showed you earlier are great ways to become informed and know how to reach out in building procurement relationships. So Montana is an overwhelmingly rural and agricultural state, and most of our schools contain families that are deeply rooted in agriculture. Don't overlook the opportunity to engage with families that are right in your school or in your community. In addition to connecting producers and schools for farm field trips, Harvest of the Month provides a great chance to bring producers into the classroom. Asking them to visit the classrooms to teach about Harvest of the Month items is a really great way to bring the farm to the school. They might bring samples for taste tests and talk to kids about the process in raising or growing, processing or making that food. They might even bring a whole animal in. I know earlier last year we had a local lamb grower bring some lambs into one of our schools here in Butte. And the kids really enjoy that experience and getting to learn about where their food comes from. So talk a little bit about resources. There are thousands of resources out there to support this work, and our state team curates a wonderful list of both national and Montana specific resources that our experience with Montana Farm to School has shown to be helpful. All the resources can be found on the Montana Farm to School website, and a few of them, like the maps, link to that Farm to Cafeteria website. I want to step through some of the Montana specific resources and the events that are available and upcoming. The Farm to Cafeteria Manual is a great procurement resource. And if you're looking for a link to the Farm to Cafeteria Manual, it can be found under School Food on the Montana Farm to School webpage. Additionally, for the past few years, we've had a Beef to School research team that has been showcasing and cataloging and researching successful beef to school procurement models for getting Montana beef to Montana kids. Those resources are also available on the web. The Farm to Cafeteria database you've already seen. There are a slew of procurement trainings that are available on the trainings and events link on that webpage. There's a great resource in the Farm to School Successes webinar that you can find there as well. And as we continue to put out more webinars and conduct in-person trainings, this website's a great way to stay in the loop with what's coming up. Speaking of what's coming up, Montana Farm to School Month, which is also National Farm to School Month, is in October. This is a great opportunity to jumpstart your program and hop on to both local initiatives and national initiatives for increasing the visibility of farm to school and really boosting up your activities that relate to farm to school. In conjunction with, I'm trying to switch slides. In conjunction with Montana Farm to School Month is Montana Crunch Time. So join me in celebrating National Farm to School Month with Montana Crunch Time this October. We've been doing this for several years, and we encourage all Montanans, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, participate in Crunch Time on October 24th at 2 p.m. by crunching into locally grown apples. And then we also try to collect as many photos and videos of those events as possible. We call them Crunch Bites, and you can share those via email, or if you're social media savvy, use hashtag #MTCrunchTime to share those out. And if you've got some time on your hands, give a quick search for hashtag #MTCrunchTime and see just how crazy some of these events get. I think we've had upwards of 30,000 people participating in previous years. On the resources front, maybe most importantly, Aubrey and myself are resources as well. If you've got a question and you can't find the answer with an online search, always feel free to reach out. We'll be happy to steer you in the right direction. Keep in mind, most answers can be found on the portal. And there's one more exciting opportunity that's coming up. I want you to mark on your calendars, the Montana Farm to School Summit will be held September 13th and 14th in Missoula. This conference happens every 2 years, so don't miss the chance to jump on it and attend this year. It'll be fantastically chock full of field trips and workshops and speakers from around Montana and even reaching out across the country. And of course, there will be delicious food. Registration is still open up until September 6th, I believe. So please check it out. Register now. There's an entire track of ECE specific sessions. So bringing Harvest of the Month pilot sites out, bringing Lacey Stevens, the National Farm to School Network's Farm to Early Care and Education specialist. There will be some really good workshops that are specific for your all's environment. So I'm happy to be able to offer that this year, and I hope to see some of you there. Also, remember to share your Harvest of the Month story. You can share pictures and lessons, stories, recipes. Use that share your story link that was on the Farm to School and Harvest of the Month website, or you can feel free to email them to me anytime. Use social media to get the word out and use that hashtag #MTHarvestOfTheMonth. And I mentioned using those photo releases, that allows us to share and use those photos at the state level as well. And don't forget about local news media. The images that are shown here are from the Fallon County Extra. They publish an article every month from Plevna School about Harvest of the Month. All right, well, thank you so much for your time today. Grateful to have your help in expanding Harvest of the Month.